Hi everybody. Thanks for watching my other videos. So video 1 was, to me, an epic success. I think we've gotten over 150 views. I think we're heading towards 200. Really don't remember. Sorry, bad memory. And video number 2 definitely is around 50 views. So thank you everybody for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. Thank you everyone that signed the petition. The petition is above 400 signatures. So thank you. Please keep spreading the word, letting everyone know that please sign the petition. I'm going to say something right now before I completely forget. This video is going to be about how crappy 2020 was for me, like the entire year. It's going to be kind of long, so please be ready to either listen or listen from afar, however this goes. I'm a really fast talker, especially when I get excited. That's, I think, part of my ADHD. Please, I've noticed that my first couple videos, I haven't really invited everyone to participate in what the topic is. So far, I've just been letting you guys know about my husband's situation, and just please let me know if there's any like videos you guys want me to do. Let me know in the comments below for this video. Let me know how bad your 2020 was, because I'm well aware that 2020 was a terrible year for everybody, so I get it. So again, get ready. 7 pages worth of notes here. Greetings, loved ones. That reminds me of Snoop Dogg's greeting from California Girls with Katy Perry, which was a music video. Love that music video. All right, 2020 was my lesson in humility. So today, again, I will talk about why 2020 was our worst year ever for me and my husband. I learned not to take the blessings that are in my life for granted, and that which God giveth, God can taketh it away. So yes, January 1st, 2020. It was a wonderful day. I had a great visit with my husband. Visited my husband in prison, and I was able to hug and kiss him and hold hands and do my hand inspection on him, all kinds of stuff that I do with him because I'm crazy. So I'm not trying to be a negative Nelly, but unfortunately we were not able to take a picture that day. He was not able to get a photo decade for our pictures that day. So some prisons are different, but at the prison where he's at currently, Centinela, the guys somehow have to acquire a $2 photo decade. They're not always easy to acquire. They can generally be bought at store, I believe. But say the first prison where I met him at, which was Susanville, where we got married, that prison, I could buy the photo ducats for $2 a piece. So it was different. Like the visitors bought the photo ducats at that prison. And in this prison, Centinela specifically, the guys somehow have to buy photo ducats. Okay, I'm getting kind of lengthy and I'm only 3 minutes in. Oh my God, you guys, I have to get my super talkative, like go voice. I don't want to keep you guys here all night, even though it is at some ungodly hour of the morning for me right now. Yeah, I stay up late and I don't know why. Yeah. Okay, so we had an amazing day, but we didn't get a photo that day, and I am grateful for the hugs and kisses of that day, but those were our only hugs and kisses for 2020, and we don't even have a picture to commemorate our New Year's, and that was our 2 years anniversary from when we met again as adults, now that I actually remember meeting him. January 4th, 2020, I had spent my night at a horrible motel in Mexicali, Mexico, and it took me like 2 hours to cross the border. And then sometime after 12 p.m. I finally showed up at the prison, and only for them to notify me, like to me it's like the worst news I could possibly receive of the day, that my husband wasn't available for me to visit him. And they couldn't tell me why. They couldn't tell me where he was really at. I was sad, frustrated, etc. I didn't make a big scene. I really think I should have made a bit of a fuss, but I didn't. I just kind of just took it their word at face value that, I couldn't see my husband that day, and that I would have to find out from him later why that was. Well, days later, after my internal investigation, that means that I asked people that knew my husband, or that I knew that their guys knew my husband. Hey, what's going on? What happened with my husband? Please, somebody needs to let me know what happened, because the prison sure enough did not let me know what happened to him. So I come to find out that there were these 2 guards that came to come get my husband. And here's the weird part. Like, they had just done a cell inspection from him like a week before. Or no, not even a week before, the day before. Friday, they hadn't done a cell inspection. Saturday, on a visiting day, they did another cell inspection. I'm looking at the situation like, look, I really don't care if you go Friday and then you go Monday, but don't mess around with days that we have visits. Really, just don't. it was not nice to come to find out that I couldn't see him. And then I come to find out that, again, these two guards came for him. He went right back in. He was like trying to hide whatever that they, you know, did find. He had things that he shouldn't have had. And that's about as much as I can say about that. He got caught with things he shouldn't have had. He ended up nearly dying that day. It was a terrible experience overall, because when I did finally come to find out that he had been hospitalized and that he nearly died, I heard it like 4 days later from the hospital where he had been, which was offsite, which means that even if I couldn't see him, even if anything, if I'd have known that he was at a hospital, like in the city nearby, the prison, I could have at least gone to the hospital and just known and told him in a letter later that I was there, physically there, even if they wouldn't let me see him, even if I have anything. But I regret so much that day of not making a bigger fuss or trying to really find out what's up with my husband, even though I'm his emergency contact. They could not tell me anything, supposedly. So this is where I encourage other prison wives to get that paperwork done, so that it's not just that your husband's or your loved one's your significant other is not just getting the to be their emergency contact. No, you also have to fill out certain paperwork so that you can be informed about his health stuff. I forgot what it is. It's the abbreviation for its ROI, a release of information. There we go. A release of information paperwork that your husband, again, significant other, whoever your loved one, fills out the paperwork, and then they're able to inform you about, well, whatever, for a year. At least that's the way it is in California when you fill out that form. So I have yet to fill out that form. I got my dad's printer back up and running, so hopefully I'll have that form taken care of and mailed in to my husband so that I can keep abreast of his situation, because again, he's got COVID right now. So yeah. So days after I found out what had happened to him, he nearly died, they sent him to the hole, which is administrative segregation, aka the hole. Those guards that had gone to go get my husband that day, they claimed that my husband hurt them, or one or more than one of them. So they took probably hazmat pay. They took a nice little vacation at my husband's expense. And the reason why they were all able to do that is because somewhere in my husband's personnel record, it says specifically that if guards or whoever, anyone at the prison that works there, if they disrespect my husband, that he will basically attack them, because he is not to be disrespected. He just, don't mess with my husband, really, you just don't. I'm not proud that he's like that, but I mean, it is what it is. That is his current situation, and that's why they were able to say and get away with lying about the fact that my husband hurt them when he did not. And my husband is he's technically small for like a man, but like, I mean, I don't know, he's like 5'7" or something, but like that's supposedly small for a guy. I don't know, 5'5". I don't really know how tall my husband is. I just know he's taller than me, and I'm 5 foot. I'm 5 feet nothing. So there you go. He's, I think, at least 5 inches taller than me. So they claimed that my husband hurt them. They took their nice little leave time. My husband ended up in the hole. He ended up getting punished by all the other guards because, oh my gosh, you hurt one of us. Yeah, okay. They literally made it a point to disrespect him when they went in to get him. They grabbed at his genitals. That's not okay. I don't understand like how that's okay. I get that it's a prison setting, but that's beyond that's just not okay. I can't emphasize that enough. So, okay, his mom nearly died, and again, I wasn't notified, and his mother wasn't notified, even though we are his emergency contacts. We weren't notified until almost a week later. By the time they were able to get a hold of me, it was basically a week after he had gotten discharged from the hospital. So that has always, for an entire year now, has bothered me to no end, that the prison to this day never said anything. There was no I'm sorry's. There was no, hey, look, we're sorry we didn't notify you sooner that your husband nearly died. Nothing was said. And that kind of stuff is just the stuff that gives them a bad name. It's really bad. Okay, so now, because he's in the hole, we can only get behind the glass visits. I know I said I'd try to find the silver lining or the blessings within these situations, but my husband getting taken away, I'm sorry, there's no blessings in there that I can find except the ones that I found like after this. We only got to do behind the glass visits. It's exactly what it sounds like. There's a big piece of glass, like probably this thick, between me and him. I'd never had to go through that before, because now instead of a regular visit where I can hug and kiss my husband, where we're able to share food, we can hold hands, we can walk around, we can go get food from the vending machines, we were deprived of all of that. even though my silver lining, I guess I found it. Here we go. I am grateful that my husband survived the experience, that he did not die in the hospital that day, but it's still, sorry, it still gets to me. So again, we ended up with behind the glass visits. The past 2 years before that, from 2018 and 2019, in those years, I had never, ever, ever had to do behind the glass visits. And again, I'm still a newbie prison wife, even to this day. We're going on 3 years of marriage and 3 years of being on this journey with him, but I still consider myself a newbie in so many aspects. So definitely not an expert. So yeah, we never had to endure this. And this visit behind the glass only lasts 1 hour. You cannot make regular appointments using the VPAS system that is part of the CDCR thing in California. It's a 1 hour visit, more or less. I'm allowed to buy food and drink, but there's really no point in me buying food there. It's really expensive. It's really not worth it. I don't have time to eat anything in an hour, and I felt so guilty imagining myself eating food in front of my husband, food that he can't have. He can't access this food anymore. There's, again, this glass that's this thick between us. I would basically just buy a drink, a bottle of water. And even in the 1 hour time, I would not necessarily drink an entire bottle of water. So that would go to waste at the end of the visit. When he arrives to the visit, he has chains or cuffs on his hands, his legs, and his waist. He is just chains all over. They remove those chains so that he can sit in a chair, grab a two-way phone that literally looks like an old-fashioned style, like payphone. You can't always hear the person on the other end very well. And it's just simply the worst kind of visit. So I love my husband, I really do, but it's really sucked to just have to drive out there. It's between 2 to 4 hours for me to get there, spend an hour with him, more or less, and then have to just drive back home and just like leave him there. It's really just, ugh. My husband's the one that throughout this entire year has always seen the positive and the silver lining in all of these things that have happened to him and to us. And I'm grateful that he points them out. So we're grateful to have saved money on food. At least there was that. And again, my husband is a super positive person. I wouldn't have fallen in love with him otherwise if he wasn't. So March 14th, 15th, the weekend of March 14th and 15th, which was like Saturday and Sunday, that we would normally have our, visits, even though they are behind the glass. That is the day, that's the weekend, when the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, which is the CDCR acronym I keep throwing around, announces that all of the visits of all kinds are canceled throughout the state of California. Because after regular visits were taken, the family visits followed shortly after. Please go ahead and ask me what family visits are. I will definitely explain that in another video, to the best of my abilities, because we've never had one. This was a severe blow to us. To go from regular visits to behind the glass to no visits. March 13th and 14th was when we would have celebrated our 2-year wedding anniversary. We got married on St. Patrick's Day in 2018. So our actual anniversary date was a Tuesday that year. We would have totally celebrated, talked, done our thing, been so happy together. Like we get like 2 little kids, and when we see each other, we're just crazy excited when we see each other. So yeah. Again, so let me explain a little bit more about my husband being in the hole. When my husband's in the hole, or any guy that's in the hole in California, there are no collect calls. He can't call me anymore. We can only write letters using snail mail, which is meaning that the U.S. Post Office, your mailman has to come pick up the mail and mail it out to him, and that can take up to a week to process, because when the mail arrives there, they open up his mail, they review it, and they make sure that there's nothing illegal, substances or anything else that someone is trying to sneak in through a letter, which apparently people have done that, or else these rules wouldn't exist, I'm sure. He can write to me, I can write to him. Snail mail, again, takes about a week. It was just terrible, but hey, we were pen pals before we got married, so we were able to survive that somehow. Our silver lining of my husband being in the hole is that he was essentially kept safe from COVID the entire time he was there. So again, we're grateful for that. Thank you, Lord, for keeping my husband safe. April 10th, 2020, or about that date. It was either the 9th, 10th, or 11th. I'm really not 100% sure, but I had been living in Tijuana, Mexico for about 5 months. My car was stolen from in front of the house where I stayed, because my car did not have the club or anything else. It didn't have GPS to be able to track my car, nothing. So of course, that was a devastating blow. So during the month of April, thank God, this JPay service, which I only know it as a service where I can send my husband money and put it on his books. JPay came out with this discount on their stamps, which I never had to deal with before because I didn't even know that was not an option for us, the JPay being able to write back and forth, because sometimes certain prisons or certain guys have a certain privilege level where they can get tablets and they can kind of email back and forth and send pictures and stuff with their loved ones. Well, my husband was not allowed to have a tablet, but me on my end, I could download the app for JPay on my phone, and then I can all of a sudden, thank God, I can send him like emails, pictures. They come out in black and white, but still it's more of a real-time type of thing because they have a printer on site, and he would get my email things every 24 to 48 hours, more or less. It would only take 1 or 2 days versus that almost an entire week of processing for him to get a letter from me or for me to receive a letter from him, because the outbound process is kind of similar. They will like open up his mail and check it, and they stamp like almost every single page that he sends to me. It says, you know, the name of the prison or whatever. So yeah, all his stuff gets checked outbound, my stuff gets checked inbound. Yeah, don't try sending stuff in letters. It's everyone could get in trouble basically. So these JPay emails became another form of communicating with my husband in a much faster and efficient way. And sometime, I think also in April, eventually, even though normally there are no phone calls whatsoever once you're in the hole, I believe April was also the month when they started implementing for my husband in the hole. Once every 2 weeks, we could get a 15-minute phone call, which was, again, a huge blessing. I just didn't have money on my books then. So a good friend of mine, Melissa, shout out to Melissa and her husband, Jesus, who actually already got out of prison. Yay. Happiness to them. She was able to put at least $5 on my phone, which for me, a regular phone call with my husband that lasted 15 minutes used to cost about $5 for the 15 minutes because my phone number is from Florida and I never changed it, and hence it's an out-of-state number. And so the company called GTL viewed my phone number as being long distance. And so eventually, and thank God, thank you to my friend Helly, shout out to Helly, she's amazing. She got me hooked up with the Google Voice number. So now when I get collect calls from my husband, they only cost me $1 and some change, rather than the other version where I was wasting like $5 per phone call, and that hurt. I didn't have that kind of money like ever in those first 2 years, so there was that. I know this is getting like really long-winded and I'm only on page 4, but I'm gonna try to run through this. Okay, so those letters and the phone calls became a much better way to be able to communicate with my husband. I was able to notify my husband almost immediately when my car was stolen, and I felt like a fool. I was devastated. I had taken 2 weeks off of work because we thought that we might have gotten exposed to COVID on the job, and they had offered us those 2 weeks off without pay, and so I went and took them, and for like 2 or 3 days I spent my days just watching Netflix and not looking out the window to check on my car or anything like that. So they took my car and I didn't realize it until almost 24 hours later or something. It was like the most terrible thing that's happened to me, I think. Okay, maybe not the most, but I like to exaggerate. I'm a trauma queen, so yeah, I exaggerate about a lot of stuff in my life. And so my rent money was in the car, my clean clothes, my work gear, my husband's drawings, some of them were in the car, and those were beautiful custom-made drawings. And I know I keep going on about my husband's drawings and I keep on not posting pictures and things about them, but I'm going to find a way to be able to post drawings and things that my husband has created, and especially these, which is stolen out artwork now, so you guys can see his amazing, amazing work. He is awesome. And we thank God for giving my husband the talent to be such an amazing artist. My rent money was in the car. I ended up having to go to San Diego to get more money for my landlords. And then from there, I had trouble crossing the border into Mexico. They wouldn't let me into Mexico because of COVID. And I was coming in on foot instead of in a car. They literally sent me back into the US, back to San Diego, because I didn't have a proper visa. They didn't bother to tell me the proper visa only cost $30. I ended up spending up so much more money on trying to get into some random person's car just to cross the border. Thank God nothing happened to me. I was fine. Thank you, Lord, for keeping me safe during that one. I do find it difficult to be grateful in the situation where my car was stolen, my husband's artwork was stolen, my rent money was stolen, and even after I got the rent money for my landlords and put it under their door, I ended up having to leave from that place, and it was a really nice apartment. I really liked living there, and my landlords, really terrible people, the wife anyway, it's like a couple, there was the husband and the wife. The husband seemed like a pretty cool dude, but the wife was just like, yeah, we're not giving you back any of your money, not even your deposit, because you didn't give us like 30 days notice. I'm like, lady, you understand that my car was stolen. I can't go to work anymore. I had an emergency. My rent money was stolen in the car, and I still went out of my way to be a good person and get you the rent money for the month. I didn't know I was leaving. I didn't like acknowledge that I was leaving until like about not even a week after I had just paid her that rent. And then I was like, well, I gotta go. And they're like, yeah, well, you're not getting any of your money back. I'm like, well, gee, I hope you are paid back in kind. There's such a thing called karma. And God's always watching, so, you know. Not exactly that I wish them ill, but just I really kind of wish that if someone's ever in a situation to help them, that they don't get the help that they need. Just because I needed help in that situation, and I was not helped, not even by them. And I had already lived there like 3 months, so I was just like, wow, that's how you treat people. May 2020, sometime in May, I was forced to move back to LA. Thank God that my nighttime job that I had at the time was transferable. My mother-in-law had a little area where I could sleep in her house and where she lives. And don't get me wrong, I really appreciate that she, helped me get a roof over my head, because Los Angeles is a very expensive place to live. But it was just simply hard. My living conditions there were hard. My mother-in-law lives in a one-bedroom apartment. She sleeps in the bedroom, and she has her granddaughter in there with her. So there's 2 people there. Then she had a friend staying in the living room with her 3 boys, and they're quite rambunctious, and they made a lot of noise. And I worked at night, and I had to sleep in the day, and those children did not let me sleep. There was always something. There was always noise. And even with earplugs, I could always hear them. So yeah, I like to sleep. I like to sleep a lot. It is like one of my hobbies besides like reading good books. That was, yeah, not fun. I'm grateful that during the time I didn't have a car, I was saving money. I was saving money on not having to pay for car insurance, maintenance on my car, gas in my car washes, all of that. Having a car is expensive, you guys. I thankfully didn't have to make the car payment. My dad used to make my car payment, but yeah. I rode around on public transportation, and I had many interesting experiences. I met a lot of interesting people. I can actually say that. So there's a positive there. My car that was stolen in Tijuana actually appeared in Ensenada. That is a miracle of God, because most cars that disappear in Mexico are never found again. They get stripped down for parts. Like my car got stripped down for parts basically, but I mean, they took the tires and the catalytic converter and the battery and a bunch of other stuff. The car ended up staying in Ensenada, so we found it in May. We didn't recover it until actually July, and I had to pay $300 to get it back. And even after that, we had to pay a lot more money. I swear, I think I spent over $1,000 trying to get that car fixed, and all in the end, it's been for nothing, because we didn't get the catalytic converter in Mexico, where it would have been cheaper to get and install. And in the end, my car cannot function well in California without a catalytic converter. A friend of mine from work basically explained to me that my engine is gonna get like ruined or something. Like, I don't know, if something gets in my engine, and it basically ruins the car. And so now I'm going to have to surrender my car over to the bank, who technically still owns that vehicle. And that sucks, but hey, and I do like my car. It was a nice blue Hyundai Sonata 2015. Nice car. Good times in that car. Excellent times visiting my husband. Really cool road trips that I took with my mother-in-law. We went to Mexico at least once in my car, I think. We definitely went to High Desert. That car made it to High Desert. Numerous visits to High Desert State Prison in Susanville. Again, the prison where I married my husband. July 4th, we recovered the car. Like I said, $300 to get it out of the junkyard. In October, I finally recovered the car that I was able to drive it around for a bit. That lasted about a month, because I had a daytime job and a nighttime job. I had a daytime job where I worked in the deli, and a nighttime job where I worked, still doing my job working in the grocery stores doing resets. Let's see. I drove the car for about a month, which again, as I was saying, was dangerous to do in California because they have to do the smog checks every so often. Thank God they didn't ask me for a smog check on that car during the time it was there, but there you go. Another small blessing, the recovery of the license plate for the car. They took the license plate, they took all kinds of stuff off my car, and the license plate, I was able to recover it and only had to pay like 20 or 40 bucks, which wasn't that bad. I thought it was going to be a lot worse, so thank you, Lord, for that. On November the 1st, 2020, I was heading out to my daytime job in my car with no catalytic converter. And I worked, my daytime job was working the deli at Pavilions in Long Beach. So shout out to my coworkers, my ex-coworkers from Pavilions in Long Beach. I'm here in Florida. I got a phone call from my mom when I was on my way to work, and she was telling me that my dad, who's 85, had been hospitalized. November 2nd, I flew out to Florida. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to visit my dad in the hospital because of COVID. I was aware of that, but I wanted to be here for my mom. I wanted to offer her my, support. So yeah. My mom and I, thankfully, were able to see my dad on the Thursday before his final surgery on Friday. And I have pictures of that too. If you guys remind me, I will again try to find a way to do some kind of slideshow video thing where I show pictures that I keep mentioning that you guys are probably all wondering, what do these pictures look like? So yeah, we saw him one last time, which I didn't look up the date, but I'm guessing it was around November the 12th, because Friday, I think it was Friday the 13th, they performed a second surgery on my dad during that 2 weeks that he was in the hospital. This surgery was meant to prolong his life. And my older siblings, all of them agreed to do the surgery. So I have 5 older siblings. All of them were in agreement, as far as I know, to do the surgery on my dad. My mom and I were completely against it. We thought, hey, he's not strong enough to withstand the surgery. It's not a good idea. And when we visited my dad in the hospital, he was intubated, so he couldn't speak to us. But he could nod his head and kind of make gestures, and we know he wanted to talk. It nearly killed me to see my dad like that, because he was just so like dry right here in like the mouth area. Like, I get that you're intubated and you're receiving like liquids through an IV and everything else and whatever they want, but I mean, there is such a thing as moisturizing a patient's lips with like little, at least the VA hospital in Tampa, where I once worked for a little bit. They had these little like green sponge things that were like a stick with a green sponge, and you kind of dip it in water and you kind of like basically help the oral area here. And my dad literally wanted to drink that water, and that broke my heart, that he was so dehydrated, and I felt like that they were not taking good care of him at this hospital. And I'm sorry, but to this day I feel like the people at that hospital did not take good care of my father, and I feel like they killed him. As far as I know, my dad didn't die from COVID or COVID exposure, but the care or lack of care at that hospital is what I really truly believe killed him. And yeah, I do want to sue that hospital, just FYI. My mom asked my dad if he wanted to go through with the surgery that they said would prolong his life, and he nodded his head at her. He said yes. So on Friday, they did a surgery on him, and we did not really hear any type of news except that I think he got out of surgery, and we got that kind of news. And I believe we tried to do some kind of video visit with him that night. I don't even remember. It's been a while. So much happened in such a short period of time. But we basically didn't have any kind of real news about how my dad was doing until Saturday. And then at some point we were informed on Saturday that he's basically dying. And there's nothing else they can do for him. We spoke to a social worker, and we tried to talk to her about maybe getting him into a rehab place or just somewhere where we can see him one last time as a family. That was talked about. And it just didn't seem like that was an option. We couldn't bring him home. We couldn't take him to a rehab place where there was nothing we could do. The night of the 14th, Saturday night, we went to sleep. My mom and I went to sleep. My older sister was staying with us here at the house. And November 15th, around 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, my dad died at the hospital all alone. I'm probably still in shock. I don't think I really cried for my dad. I know that for me, love is everlasting. My dad's in heaven. I'm okay with that. Like, I can make my peace with that, because I loved my dad when he was here. I mean, I feel guilty that I hadn't seen my parents in almost 2 years. Like, the last time I'd seen them was like November 2019. So February of 2019 was the last time I'd seen both my parents. And for me to see my dad in his final like moments, like days before he died, I'm grateful that they did let us see him, but it's just, my shock lasted a while. I found it difficult to accept the new reality of my dad being like gone. So I was in denial for a while, a good number of days. Probably even after his funeral, I was just denial. So I don't think I've properly grieved, but I really do think I need my husband by my side. And the fact that I haven't seen my husband in like over 9 months at this point, we still haven't qualified for video visits even. That sucks. So right now it's been about a month and a half since my dad passed. I don't think I've properly grieved, as just mentioned, and maybe I'm just not doing it right. I feel like I had a bout of depression, lethargy, like I didn't feel like motivated to get things done. And my husband and I talked on the phone, and I am actually grateful to the counselor that he had when he was in C Yard. That counselor, I believe his last name is Ramos, actually allowed me 15 or 20 minutes of uninterrupted time with my husband after my dad passed so that I could just talk to him. And I would never forget that. I don't think I will ever forget that he did us that like kindness. So thank you to Counselor Ramos, who let me talk to my husband so I could kind of just tell him everything that had happened with my dad. My husband and I discussed it. We decided it'd be best for me to just stay in Florida with my mom for a while. A while has turned into like 2 months and counting, going on, I think 3 months, I don't know. Two months and some change right now, and it seems like I'll be here for another year or so. I'm not really sure. I'm looking for a job, and there's good news there. I have a job interview today at 2 p.m. and today's almost 5 o'clock in the morning where I'm at. So in a couple of hours, I have a job interview over the phone. That's exciting. My dad's funeral was on the 18th and 19th of November. My siblings all decided it seemed like a really not nice thing to do to my mom, that my parents' anniversary, they would have had 42 years of marriage on November the 17th. So we did not have any type of funeral, anything on the 17th, which would have been my parents' 42nd wedding anniversary. December 15th was my birthday. It was a sad day for me. I turned 34, and I usually spend my birthday and Christmas with my husband. I went out and got some freebies, so yay for the free stuff I was able to get on my birthday around town. Cool Starbucks. I got a big drink from Starbucks that said happy birthday. It kind of helped a little bit. December 25th, I would have again usually have spent that date with my husband, but I was in Florida and an emergency came up and I actually didn't even get to spend it with my mom. So I had to be out of town for Christmas. New Year's Day, or New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, I spent it with my mom. It was bittersweet. New Year's Day marks the 3-year anniversary of the first time I visited my husband in prison. I got to spend December 30th, 31st of 2017 and January 1st, 2018 with him, his mom, his 2 nieces. That was our first visit, and those 3 days I talked his ear off. Ask me about how we met. It's a great story. Kind of long. Probably not as long as this video, but yeah. So 2020, it taught me to be humble and grateful for all of the blessings in my life, everything that I have. I'm grateful to have my health, and I do wish my husband were with me more than anything in the world, but I shall have to have more patience. And yeah, my husband has COVID right now, but by faith, he's going to survive, and this will strengthen our relationship even more, because I can honestly say that COVID, for couples that have been living together through COVID, that are actually, you know, spending time together in the real world, prison wives, husbands, people that have been, guys that are in prison, wives that are in prison, people that are incarcerated. This has been a really hard time for a lot of couples, whether you're in prison, whether you're not, whether you know nothing about prison, which was me when this was me. When I first walked in the door, I had no idea what it was like to be with someone that's in prison. I had absolutely clueless. I kind of sometimes still am. So again, just please let me know in the comments below, what was 2020 like for you? How horrible was it? Or if you had so many blessings in 2020, please, I'd love to hear about them. And I'm sure we all need to hear something good about 2020, because COVID just killed 2020. And even now we're all trying to recover from that terrible year. So we're hoping for good things and blessings and awesomeness and just generally good stuff. So let's pray that this is a better year. I'll be praying that this is a better year. And yeah, thanks for listening. Sorry that this video was so long. Bye.